Okay.
And we are back on the air, although this is a second video now. I
Hmm.
couldn't fix it because
Part two.
basically it says we were on the air, but then on YouTube it didn't.
Hmm.
So once again, Hangouts don't work.
Yeah. And the Icecast has been live the whole time. People have just been listening to me muttering and swearing and stuff and typing.
Well, I think
So
it
good
was
luck for that.
basically when you mentioned Iron Dome.
It did, didn't it? Yeah. Although you've
For
just said
some
it
re-
again. And
well, no, it kind of works.
okay.
For some reason, you was also like incredulous.
No, what I was saying was I haven't seen any of these. This is probably before, yeah, sorry, after I got cut
Yeah.
off. But
The
um,
only thing I heard was you saying Iron Dome in a way that made me think you didn't knew what it was.
mm, yeah, I mean, I've heard of it, but I didn't think. I don't know. I wasn't sure it was a real kind of project as such. But I guess it is. No, well, I'll tell you what. Here's a good point for editing then. So basically, I got up to the bit where I finished talking, and then I realised you'd frozen. So what I said was, I haven't seen these plans turn up anywhere. Has anybody found out if they ever got leaked or something? Because it doesn't look like it, or certainly not in the public that we know of.
Well, no, but then they wouldn't have leaked them to the public, I think. This looks more like they wouldn't you sell that?
I
If
suppose.
you got like plans of the Arrow 3 rocket? Um, I don't know. I,
But I
I'm,
mean,
s- yeah.
well, they're saying the breaches took place in 2011 and 2012, so it's a good couple of years ago at least.
Yeah, they
So
probably
something
sold
must have happened.
sold them to the Iranians or North Korea or something.
Hmm.
Plus, the Israeli firm says it didn't happen.
Do you think perhaps they found on the plans a heating duct that event that if they could just get like an X-wing into the into the groove and shoot down they could blow it up.
Yeah, I'm still completely like incredulous that I don't know, that you wondered what if the Iron Dome actually existed.
Well, it doesn't physically exist, does it? As far as I know, has it been built now? Am I really that out
Yeah,
of touch?
it's a
All right,
rocket
okay.
shield, dude.
All right, okay.
It's not like the Death Star. Know what the Iron Dome is? Iron Dome has been in operation for years. It's an anti rocket system. It's basically rocket launchers hooked up to radar, and it can shoot down short range missiles, basically the ones that Hamas has,
Hmm.
and then also artillery shells, 155 millimeters, which Hamas doesn't have, I think, but
I'm
they're
just looking
still
at
building them.
pictures of it now.
Well, if you look on YouTube, you see like videos of it in action, like it's shooting like rockets down over Tel Aviv, and like they're like really crazy people in like Israel. They're like out in the street like celebrating when the thing shoots down rockets, which doesn't seem the safest thing to
Yeah,
be.
maybe not. But I mean,
They're shooting
it's
really
obviously not
civilians.
working flawlessly though, because they're still getting trouble from the
Um,
aren't some of the rockets still getting through?
Yeah, but it works pretty well. So basically, it's designed. Well, there was some news about it not working, which is basically uh bullshit. But what it does, it costs one one shoot down of like an incoming rocket costs 50,000 euros,
Hmm.
and that's not the operating cost. That's just the intercepting rocket.
Hmm.
So they only shoot down incoming rockets that where the trajectory kind of tells them that it will hit areas where people live. If the Hamas rocket goes somewhere where nobody lives, they just let it explode there because it's too expensive to shoot them all down.
Hmm.
So it works pretty well. Of course, there's always some rockets getting through. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
It's not flawless,
I
but
think
nothing is.
it
Well,
works
very few things are.
for such a system. It works pretty well.
Hmm.
It works like without going too much in the politics because people will like
Hmm.
brand me things I don't want to be branded as. But basically, um, it suffice it to say, if you compare the Israeli casualties to the Palestinian casualties in this war, it paints a pretty stark picture. Because the Palestinians, they don't have any magic air defense systems, and they just get bombed to shreds right now.
Yeah, yeah. I think I must have been under an even bigger rock than usual because
Yeah,
I didn't really know much about that. So
this
that's
this has
interesting.
been in the news for ages.
Yeah, no, I've been out of touch with the news for a while. Also, I mean, is it still isn't Bush still the president of America? And good old Mrs. Thatcher, she's still around.
Fuck that Iron Dome. I want the plans for whatever rock you're living under. It must be
Yeah.
massive.
Well, Iron Rock, maybe, I don't know.
Is it made out of Blackpool rock? Is it like
Yeah, that's what
edible?
it is. Yeah.
And
It's just something that
you're just trying to eat your way out from the inside, and it's just too big.
Yeah, but it's difficult because it's too big, and you get a sugar rush, and it's too. I'll be diabetic before I get out of it. Anyway, so let's move on before we get banned again.
Let me just check before we go to the next story. You have heard of Tor, haven't you?
Tor, I've definitely heard of. Yeah, I'm just trying to find my notes now. What the fuck's happened to my notes? Oh, here we go. Yeah, all my windows are all messed up and all
I've
over.
completely confused that. Well, for the listeners, basically the Hangout crashed again. In the middle of this. If you listen to the podcast, this will be all edited out seamlessly. But you can go to YouTube, sixgun.tv, and you'll see where it basically broke because we have two videos, and I think I've broken Dan.
Yeah, probably. My brain's just had a kernel panic or something. All right, and so yes, we're on to where are we up to now?
The U.S. government has Tor published their report for the fiscal year 2013. Tor project, and it seems the U.S. government has increased funding. So I think about 60 to 70, maybe even 80% of the money comes from the U.S. government. It's kind of hard to tell because a lot of the money is like funded through other You know how the U.S. government just spins out companies and then funnels money through? Like, even the CIA has like an arm. They
shell companies and
startup companies and shit.
Yeah.
And apparently, they've received $1.8 million from the U.S. government. And yeah, I think this is pretty much all of it. But who knows? I mean, if you're really interested in this, listen to No Agenda. Adam Curry does this a lot. He just looks at Form 990s, and then it's actually quite revealing. He mostly does this for like NGOs and like charities, when they do a telethon and people get on the TV, and then he just traces where the money goes. Basically goes from one NGO to another NGO to another NGO, and they're like all the charities, and they're all supposed to do good. But basically each charity is basically just paying the people they have on staff horrendous amounts of money. Like they have a really good life, and then they pass on the money to the next charity, which is the same thing. So in the end, it's just like rich people getting more money.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
This is kind of how the U.S. government's fund stuff as well. It's kind of funny that like the DoD is funding Tor. Meanwhile,
but the thing I was going to say, NSA are supposedly like attacking Tor all the time, and all the rest of it. So you've got one part of the government saying, oh, here's some money, go and build it, and other people trying to destroy it at the same time, or whatever. I mean, the conspiracy theorists would say maybe they fund it so much because they like to, it's like a honey trap almost. They like people to be on there because they can pay for developers to, give them backdoors on there and stuff.
That is not so unlikely.
That's what I mean. So that would make sense if you wanted people to use Tor because you had a way of breaking it, then you would fund it and go, oh, yeah, Tor's great, and like push it as a good option for people.
Well, also, if you don't have a direct way of breaking it yet, it's still kind of handy to have people on there rather than on another way you don't know.
Yeah.
They have them on this, and you can track it, and you can save all the traffic, and then crack it maybe later.
Then you can use that $3,000 thing from last time.
Yeah. Also, we'll talk about that. That's actually the next story. Rather than that, then have people like on lots of different solutions, so it's kind of harder to track them down. Yeah, speaking of that, the Tor project has published that they figured out that an attack was ongoing for almost half a year,
Shit.
which worked apparently to de-anonymize users that, well, it wasn't on general Tor users, just people who used hidden services,
Hmm.
stuff like the Silk Road.
Yeah.
Um, and apparently it worked. So they don't know if this was the Black Hat researchers.
Mm.
They say they hope so, because
Because
otherwise
if
they.
not, that's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this attack was really kind of ingenious. So the attackers registered a lot of loads that were fast, that joined the network, which the top project actually recognized, but didn't do anything about. And they want to change in the past how they deal with people adding a lot of nodes at once, because that's kind of suspicious.
Hmm.
And so they were using them both as entry guards, so that's where you enter the Tor system,
Mm.
and hidden services directories, which is kind of like DNS for hidden services.
Hmm.
And then when somebody asked for a hidden service, when the request got to basically the DNS for the hidden service, which was under control of the attackers, they would encode what the hidden service is, the name,
Mm.
in the header, in the unencrypted outer header
So
of
they
the
could
Tor
find it.
packet,
Yeah.
and really ingenious basically by it attaches headers on every hop usually, on the way back.
Mm.
And they would, because they had a control of several nodes, they would encode this on the hops.
Oh, here comes the
And
NSA ice cream
wow,
van in the
that's
background.
loud. Well, they want to tell us they don't approve of us talking about the Iron Dome, I can tell you that.
Hmm.
Well, and then they would encode that on the way back. And since they probably were operating the entry guard as well, at some point they were operating about 6% of the Tor network
Mm.
of those nodes. Then it would come past the entry guard. So basically, they would then have the IP of the user, because the entry guard has the actual IP of the user,
Mm.
because that's your entry into the Tor system. And they would have encoded in the header
What you were looking for?
what you were looking for. Now, the problem with this is, if that was researchers, is the Tor project basically serves them with a can of whoop ass, because they said this was done really irresponsibly. What they should have done is encode what hidden service they used, with just a random number, and then write down, okay, that hidden number is this service. The problem with this is everybody who locked traffic at the entry guard, even without controlling the directory, could still read the hidden service. So if you lock traffic at an entry guard anyway, like say the NSA probably does,
Mm.
you suddenly have headers which have the services encoded, and you have the IP of the user anyway.
So you've
So
got pretty much everything you need, I
yeah,
would
so
imagine.
whoever attacked these people basically de-anonymized them for the whole network,
Mm.
not only for themselves, which is really bad.
Hmm.
Yeah, so not good. Yeah, Tor project says they guess that this is the researchers from the Black Hat presentation, because they're also saying doing this on as a research project, doing this on actual users, de-anonymizing actual users, has probably legal problems.
Mm.
So I guess that's why the talk was pulled by lawyers.
Yeah, and I'm also. I mean, they said 3,000. I mean, this figure of $3,000 commodity hardware. They kept saying, didn't they? I suppose
Yeah.
if you were to set up servers to work as entry nodes or whatever, entry guards, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call them, that would probably be covered by the $3,000.
It's probably not even the servers, the actual hardware. It's probably your connection. So what counts is if you add a lot of
Mm.
nodes to the network that have really good connection. There's kind of a system in place that votes nodes on reliability,
On the speed. Yeah.
and you get up in the hierarchy, and then people use your nodes all the time.
Yep. Well, I mean, we can only assume it's the same attack.
Well, I can only say what we say at CT all the time as well. If you don't know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it, don't use Tor.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
use Tor to just trivially search stuff, because I think it's been really well established by now that if you use Tor, you're basically under general suspicion. You have people logging that traffic, and you are under heightened risk.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people who use things like Tor for just searching for torrent files and things like that, and to get to like Pirate Bay and stuff, with services that are blocked, and you're definitely increasing your what's the word? Your profile of being somebody dodgy.
You're basically exchanging the police looking for you to the intelligence services looking for you.
Yeah.
And then if they ever want dirt on you, they know what copyright violations you did. Although I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be quite shitty blackmail as far as intelligence services. Like,
probably.
We know you downloaded the Expendables.
Do you know what? I watched that on Netflix the other night as well, and I don't even know what the first one.
It's so bad. It's like I find it's just quite a funny movie, but I can't get over. Like, I hadn't watched a Sylvester Stallone movie in quite a while, right? And I was thinking Ralph Garman's taking the piss. If you do an imitation, you go over the top a bit.
No, it's
like
bad.
he's mumbling Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford isn't mumbling that bad, actually.
No, he's not.
But Stallone is even worse than his impression. In Expendable 1, I had a hard time, and I'm quite good. I'm quite good at understanding. For non-natives, I had a fucking hard time understanding what the guy is saying.
Yeah.
And then the way he looks, I mean, I don't know what he's done to his face, but it must
be all
be
plastic, isn't it? It's basically all plastic.
It looks like he's like fucking stuck his face into a meat grinder, and then go to this fucking island and pretend to be like ornithologists.
What's that about? Yeah.
Statham, as if anybody would buy for 1 second that a guy who looks like Sylvester Stallone is a fucking ornithologist. It's like, so what do you do for a living, mate? I'm an ornithologist.
Birds
do first blood.
Yeah.
I researched the bird.
Yeah. I just looked this up. I mean, the dude is like 70 nearly. He's 68, and there's no way that you can look like that at the age of 70 nearly. Down near 70 without a lot of surgery and a lot of. I
think they took a kind of a death mask off his face.
But that's what happens when people get
plastic, and then they took his actual face off and glued this on.
Like that terrible film with Nick Cage.
Yeah, face off.
I'm more of a face protector. Yeah.
Exactly.
Possibly. You're right. He is pretty hard to understand. I heard they originally wanted him to be Bane, but he was too undecipherable.
Yeah.
That they couldn't hear him. You got my permission to die. You got my permission to die. Yeah.
It's so amazing. That film's just funny for that reason alone. And then, of course, the silly thing, they're like in that bloody plane.
And then
Jason
gets out the front. Yeah.
He just ducks. It's just he ducks in the seat. Cut. And then it cut to the outside of the plane. He comes out the front of the plane. And you're like, that is not technically possible. Like, where's the fucking steering things in the plane if you can just go what the fuck?
I like the fact that this is pathetic, really picking holes in the plot of this film, because there isn't really any point. But the whole fact that these really powerful guns on this plane require a guy in a hatch stood behind them. It's all this high-tech shit, but actually what it needs is a guy with a handgun as well to kind of control it. Yeah, that's a bit stupid. Anyway, but no, I did, for some reason I ended up watching it on Netflix the other night because I was flicking through.
Yeah, I watched it with friends sometime.
It's quite funny. If you watch it as a comedy, it's quite entertaining.
Yeah, well, I watched it with friends who love these kind of movies. They're usually not my kind of movies, but it's kind of funny if you watch it with more people and you're kind of drunk.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's just like all these people being ridiculous all the time.
That's kind of what they do.
And
And
like,
Dolph Lundgren's especially ridiculous in that.
Dolph
Oh,
Lundgren,
he's
but
ridiculous.
like
Yeah.
who's Mickey Rourke?
Mickey Rourke.
He's quite amazing in it as well.
And his character's called Tool, which is like an insult. I don't know if people know that, but if you call someone a tool, it's not usually a.
I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, let's get away from Expendables.
I got you do it. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. Cut me, Mick. Anyway, so yeah, let's get off this. So back to techie type stuff.
I haven't seen the. Oh, baby, I haven't seen the second one. I need to see this.
Oh, don't bother. Don't bother.
Isn't that where Schwarzenegger comes in?
He does come into it more, yes. And Bruce Willis is in it quite a lot.
He's in the
annoyingly.
One,
he only for like 10, only for a minute or something. He's in the first one. The same with Schwarzenegger's in it, even less. I'll tell you what, there was a couple of bits in it that were quite funny. I've got to admit, there were a couple of lines in it that were quite funny, like that bit where what's his name? Schwarzenegger walks in and he's like, they're discussing this job or whatever, and he's like, fuck this, I don't want the job, and he walks out, and Bruce Willis goes like, what's his problem? And Stallone goes, he wants to be president. So that was quite a good tongue-in-cheek joke, I thought.
Well, also because I think at that point he wasn't in the first movie because he was still the governor.
He was still the governor, yeah.
Couldn't do it because of that. But yeah, no, I do want to see the second. I'm going to see the third one as well, especially after the last show I bought Broforce.
Oh wow!
I'm totally into that, so I need to. Yeah.
Brotastic stuff going on there. Okay.
Well, Broforce is basically a take on the Incredibles.
Yeah.
They're the Broforce. They're like a. What to say is like, oh god, I'm gonna look this up anyway. You'll look at the next.
All right. Yeah. So it's my mic seems to be going on and off for some reason. I don't know if I've got a loose connection or something.
That's not good.
Fix that.
We've got
well, it's still on. You can obviously still hear me. It just feels a bit weird. I don't know. Ever since we mentioned the Iron Dome thing, I'm just losing all. Like my technology is just blowing up left, right, and center. I'm going to press on anyway. Hopefully, this isn't going to be all fucked on the recording. Maybe it's just It's coming through. It just sounds weird, like muffled and stuff. Anyway.
It sounds a bit weird here, but not that bad.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure how it'll come out on the recording. Actually, give me a second. I'm going to replug this mic and see what happens.
Hello? Everything okay?
Okay, is that any better? That's not any better. What the fuck's going on? Hello, hey.
Live testing. Running Outlaws. 1, 2, 3. Hello?
Okay, I'm going to press on with this and see how it goes. Maybe it's just my headphones aren't.
It's going to be okay.
We're going to have to live with it now. Apologies if the audio quality's dropped a bit. Yes, so where are we up to? Sorry, yes, back at the podcast. We've been derailed a lot tonight. Yeah, more security stuff. Elasticsearch has a vulnerability. Pardon me, I can't stop burping now. Has a vulnerability in it which has been exploited in the cloud. It says attackers have figured out a new way to get Amazon's cloud service to wage potent denial of service attacks on third-party websites by exploiting vulnerabilities in the open source search, in an open source search and analytics application known as Elasticsearch. So basically using EC2, if you like, or using Amazon's cloud stuff as a botnet. That's a bit scary.
Yeah, sorry. While you were saying that, my computer completely locked up.
Oh, fucking hell.
Now it's back, but yeah, it's like this is all going to shit.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what they discovered. I talked to a colleague who uses Elasticsearch at work, and it's quite amazing because apparently it has no understanding of users. It has no it has no security at all. Like, if you connect to a Elasticsearch instance, you're like the administrator. You can do everything. It's like if you have a box where you search stuff, you can do SQL statements in that, and it'll just execute it. Because I think the idea is you should never expose it directly. It should always be behind a proxy or something. And in the older version of Elasticsearch, has a problem where if you are on your development machine and you have access to an Elasticsearch cluster, you are of course admin, as I just said. But there's like an XSS type vulnerability where I can send you a malicious website. If you click on that, on the link, I can execute code on your cluster because you have access to that Elasticsearch cluster. I can execute code on that. And that's been known for quite a while. It's fixed in newer versions, but apparently people have been now, attackers have been doing this en masse on Amazon EC2 instances, and they've taken over a lot of servers and used them for DDoS attacks.
Yeah.
They combined this with normal Linux, well-known Linux exploits and stuff.
That's pretty worrying, though. It's pretty serious, you'd imagine.
Yeah, so upgrade to the new Elasticsearch version. What worries me is that this thing has no security at all.
Obviously, they didn't think. I mean, I know this is the case with a lot of security vulnerabilities that people just don't ever think someone will use it maliciously. But clearly, they never even thought of that. They were like, "Oh, nobody's going to do anything nasty with this," or it just never even occurred to them. So.
No, I think it's like it's by design. It's like you need to put this behind a proxy, but apparently it's so easy to use if you just set it up. That it's just too easy to use. Like apparently colleagues at work had the problem. One was playing around with Elasticsearch, and then he comes back after the weekend and finds there's like gigabytes of stuff in his database all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he has no idea where it's from. And basically what happened is it discovered another test instance on the same network and went, oh, cool, let's sync. Because another colleague was running a test instance and then downloaded all of that. Yeah, that's a bit worrying.
Yeah, it does sound a little bit worrying. It's clearly by design, as you said. All right, and so let's power on through all the massive failures and stuff tonight. EFF, the EFF Electronic Frontier Foundation, are creating router firmware. Apparently, they're releasing an experimental alpha version of wireless router software specifically designed to support shareable open wireless networks. So a little bit like Fawn or something, I would imagine, but it's a similar kind of thing. It says we will be officially launching the Open Wireless Router today at the HopeX Hackers on Planet Earth conference in New York City. That's from today, the 4th of August, as we're recording this.
No. That's when I edited to news.6gun.org.
Oh, right, sorry.
This is from the 20th of.
Oh, is it? Oh, right, so it's fairly old then.
This for a while, yeah.
So it's like 2 weeks old. All right, fair enough. Pardon me. It says this release is a work in progress and is intended only for developers and people willing to deal with the bleeding edge. Okay, so the software aims to do several things for routers that existing routers don't do well or don't do at all. Allow small business and home networks users to easily enable an open network so guests and passers-by can use an internet connection if they need one. The problem with, the issue with this is I admire the philosophy of it, and it's great, and I wish we could all just share wireless and stuff. But in a world where some twat's going to come along and do some illegal stuff on your network, isn't that a bit of a, I mean, God knows.
This whole thing doesn't work. There's way too many jurisdictions where basically you can't do that because if somebody does that, then you're liable. If somebody does something on your share network, somebody does anything illegal on that, you can't prove that it wasn't you.
Yeah.
Which you really can't. You can only prove the other way around. Then you're liable. Also, it's nice that they want to make router software more secure because there have been attacks. I mean, I'll be the first to applaud that because I read about router holes pretty much every day. It's my bread and butter now. Routers are horrible. The firmware on there is horrible. We all know that. But this is not going to work because this is aftermarket firmware. What we need is the actual firmware that comes on the routers that you buy to be more. That needs to be secure. I think actually, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think actually, I don't know if that would be easy to do, but I think we need to change the law You know how right now you can write software and you're not liable at all?
Yeah.
You just put a note on like this, I'm not liable for whatever happens, and that's
Well,
okay.
like if you've ever booted any Debian distribution or,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
related, it comes with absolutely no warranty, as it says.
For a lot of software, that's okay, especially open source software and stuff. I wouldn't want to have that for all software, but I think we need to change it. That stuff like router firmware, the company has to be liable. If you're hacked and somebody hacks you, and you can prove that was the router firmware, and somebody like owns your system and gets into your bank account and steals money, then the manufacturer of the router firmware should be liable because they're giving a shit about security. They're all about adding like 3 more buttons, and they don't support their software.
Yeah.
And I think they should be made by law to change this because there's no other way we're gonna get this secure.
Maybe.
Some router firmware from EFF isn't gonna help. And why do they start their own thing? I mean, there's there's Open DDWRT. There's this.
It's
stuff.
probably forked from that.
Can't they just? No, it's they actually say. Oh god, no.
It says it's based on Zero WRT project. That's kind of. It's got to be.
Yeah, probably.
It's got to be based on that original
Just
code
give
that
money
was
to the
leaked by.
fucking developers who already work on this shit.
I'd be interested to know what routers that's going to run on anyway. You know
right now they just say it's like one model.
Oh right.
It says.
Oh yeah, Netgear WNDR3 3800.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've got one of those, you could use it, I suppose. All right. Did we miss a couple of stories further up there? Android's fake ID bug. Did we miss that? I don't remember talking about that. Or have I just completely
yes.
Have I had like another episode and I've missed?
No, I think you completely.
All right. Okay. Should we jump back and do those two then?
Yeah, we went straight from bad USB to Iron Dome, I guess. No, we missed bad USB as well.
No, we missed both of those out. Yeah,
holy shit, these are the 2 important stories.
There you go. Well, let's talk about them then.
Let me just move them down in the show notes, otherwise I get. Oh God. Yeah.
Might have been when all the shit blew up and we didn't know what was going on.
I think that was it. God, I'm completely discombobulated. Before we get into that, just some stuff. I found the thing on Broforce. It was on the Steam page. It says actually, when evil threatens the world calls on Broforce, an underfunded, overpowered paramilitary organization dealing exclusively in excessive force. Just like that.
That sounds a lot like the Expendables, actually.
Yeah, it's brilliant tech. Also on the Broforce website, it says Broforce is a cooperative patriotism simulation. Like that as well. That is brilliant. Anyway, big stories. Yes, we buried the lead unintentionally. First off, fake ID bug. Yeah, there's a bug in Android. Turns out Android doesn't validate the certificates that apps are signed with correctly. So any app can say it's signed by any certificate, and that isn't validated.
Oh dear.
Which sounds, well, it doesn't sound that bad, but the problem is, this is Sandbox in Android, which is supposed to be there to protect you from malicious applications. There are some applications that are exempted from the Sandbox. Let's call them VIP applications, like the Flash Player, for example, Google Wallet. They can do certain things with the hardware, and they can get out of the Sandbox to do this. Now, the problem is this is hard-coded into Android, like what applications are trusted. These applications are identified by the certificates they're signed with. Since you can fake them, you can just write an application and say, oh, well, I'm signed by the Adobe certificate. And Android won't check. So basically, you can just step right past the Sandbox. And there are some apps like from a company that does remote management for like business applications. They have all kinds of rights they get. The company is called, what they're called again? Oh God, I had this written down somewhere and I can't find it. 3LM. They actually were bought by Motorola. But yeah, so that's bad. They call it fake ID because it's kind of like a teenager getting into a nightclub with fake
with the
ID.
fake ID. Yeah.
Yeah, this is apparently already fixed in Android, but in the code, but even the development preview is still vulnerable. The Android L, Android 5, so it's I don't know, it's shipped to vendors, but when they will ship updates, nobody knows. It's still a big problem. Apparently, the code comes from Apache Harmony, which was the thing that Dalvik is based on. Which then Harmony, the project, got shut down when Oracle kind of sued Google. They were kind of afraid.
Yeah, not to be confused with Canonical's Project Harmony as well, which was the licensing thing.
This is older, I think, but it's now defunct. Apparently, Android L is supposed to use Art, the new Android runtime, which, since this is an Dalvik problem, yeah, ART.
Oh, okay. I think you said arse. It's called arse.
ART.
Nice.
We must have talked about this on the show before.
Arse, yeah, I think we did.
I don't know if this is vulnerable, but from these tests, well, at least the build of their 5.0 build had the problem, but we don't know if they haven't switched over to Art yet, or if it's also in Art. Who knows?
Okay. Well, I guess hopefully they'll fix that pretty quickly. We got what's the bad USB one about then?
This is the big
USB
story.
vulnerabilities. Yeah.
We are all fucked.
Okay.
Well, we all knew, or lots of people knew, security people knew, that USB is horrible. USB has no security. Which it isn't that much of a problem because you usually say if you have local access, all bets are off anyway. So you could for a while you could buy, for example, the rubber ducky, which is it looks like a USB stick from the outside. In the inside, it's actually a small computer. And what it does is basically if you plug in a USB device, it can say, well, I'm a keyboard.
Yeah.
And the computer can't check. There's no check, there's no security there. So it just can say I'm a keyboard. So if you put a USB stick in and it actually shows to your system as a USB stick, as a storage device, but it actually goes to the computer and says I'm a keyboard, then it can do whatever it wants. Because if it registers as a keyboard, then executes a script and just does execute something with root privileges, then the computer won't be able to tell that it isn't you typing on the keyboard. It thinks it's you. It thinks it's the local user. And with that, you can, on pretty much any OS, you can circumvent pretty much any security if you're the user at the keyboard.
Yeah, but because convenience. I mean, people want ways to,
well, and you
turn off these things.
Yeah, and you can't stop that. Like, even on Linux, you can get root if you're the user on the keyboard, probably,
Jesus.
Yay, server error.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I'll just keep on going.
Yeah, let's keep going and we'll never get finished.
I was saying, what was I saying? Give me a second. Yeah, so
you were saying even on Linux you can get root.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to protect against that. Now the new thing with this is this is actually Carsten Knoll from SR Labs in Berlin found a way to do this with normal USB devices. So you don't need hardware. Basically, he found out that controller chips for USB devices are pretty much only made by 3 companies, and most of them are made by a company called Phison. Now, the USB protocol is basically SCSI with some proprietary extensions. Then he found that people had actually reverse engineered the Phison extensions.
I think you say the fuck out of it then. Reverse engineered the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Bison, sorry.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, the Python stuff. So what you can do is, well, there's provisions there in the firmware let's say you put a USB stick and you can say, okay, dump the firmware, and then you can write new firmware to it. And at that point, you can do whatever you want. Like you can write firmware to it that makes it, so a normal user makes it look like a USB stick, but when he plugs it in, it just takes over his computer. You can even write it in a way that it detects, because when you plug it in, it can detect what OS it's running on by the USB hub thing on the other side, with the IDs over there, vendor IDs and shit. It can figure out what OS it's running on and then execute a script for that OS, take over that OS, and then corrupt any USB devices attached to that. And that's not only USB sticks, that's like webcams, phones, USB hard disk, anything that has a USB controller, you could probably take over.
And
then
almost everything has USB these days.
Yeah, and then that goes on to the next computer, and then it takes over that computer. Basically, you have a virus, USB virus, which is horrible. And since USB has no built-in security, you can't really protect against that. There is no real things like USB firewalls. There are some things like that in the business environment, but the problem is what they need to do is the only thing they can do is prevent people from basically plugging in USB keyboards, because the thing will just plug in as a keyboard, figure out that whatever the firewall is running, and then pretend to be the user turning it off.
Yeah.
Same with antivirus, it can just go on, and the first thing it does, it turns out off Kaspersky or Symantec or whatever is running, and then it downloads the malware, and then the antivirus can't do anything. So the only thing that helps is basically taking which people have in high security environments, they do take a glue gun to the fucking USB ports.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've had at work we've had all kinds of problems with. So we have an IT support company who's outsourced to do our IT stuff, and they, as a rule, just seem to like turn off USB access on everything with like group policy, whatever. I don't know.
Well, that wouldn't help you.
Yeah, exactly. But
Probably.
they keep going on about, it's because you can't use a USB stick because it's insecure and so on. And I don't work for a particularly high profile play. It's not like I'm working somewhere where we've got lots of records, people's records and stuff. It's not really like that. It just seems to be policy. But now they're going to have more. What's the word? More ammunition to say.
Well,
even if you're saying it won't help, they'll use this as a kind of a.
You have to completely turn off all USB. Which means you can't even use a bloody USB mouse.
Yeah,
you could do that. That would probably work.
So does this mean the old PS2 mice are going to be becoming popular again?
You laugh.
Although nobody has nobody has PS2 ports on their motherboards anymore.
Oh yeah, they do. When I was working for Netcologne, we were only using PS2 mice and keyboards. They still make motherboards with PS2 connectors. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not common, is what I mean. Like they don't seem to be.
Well, in business environments, they actually are.
Okay.
Yeah, like the cheap business motherboards, they often have them. They still have VGA connectors and stuff because of old hardware. This is pretty scary. Noel named this bad USB kind of riff on the bad bias thing that Rui was going on about last year. That like kind of rumored super virus, because this would basically kind of work the same way. It wouldn't travel from computer to computer via sound waves, but it kind of.
But it is pretty serious. I mean, so many. I mean, we all do it, and I do it all the time because I need to use a USB stick for transferring some files or something. We all do it, so they're everywhere, and even people who know nothing about computers usually know what a USB is. If you go, have you got a USB? And they go, oh yeah.
The ISC is saying that you can't just turn security stuff off because you need root admin privileges. Yeah, but just imagine this: USB key is in the computer. It doesn't do anything. It waits till 2 o'clock at night, when the work computer is probably still on, right? At which point it reboots the computer, which you don't need admin privileges for.
And boots from
Starts
itself.
up, it boots from itself, boots a Linux distro, changes the root user on Linux or on Windows. It just changes the root admin password, which is really easy. Then reboots into Windows, and blam, locks in with root privileges, turns everything off. I mean, this is kind of bad. It would be really hard to defend against this because this is basically it is a local attack. It's just you'd have to do it. You'd have to be really sophisticated. You'd have to encode all of this in the script, but it isn't impossible. It's really scary. It's like you'd think this Cast Noah guy probably wasn't the first to think of this.
Well, it makes you wonder if it's already been done, doesn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, who's to say it hasn't already been done by whoever? It could be NSA, it could be hackers, it could be.
You can,
anyone.
the New World Order, bloody what are they called? Freemasons. Maybe
Stonecutters, yeah.
The reptilian aliens,
The
the Egyptians, the vampires.
Illuminati.
Illuminati, the vampires living among us. The only thing that can rescue us now is Nicolas Cage.
I think you say Broforce.
Yeah, bro, exactly, bro. We need Broforce.
We need Broforce, yeah. Anyway, so let's get to the last two stories then.
Call in Broforce. I repeat, call in Broforce. We need you. Broforce, activate.
Yeah. All right, and so we've got a couple of Mozilla stories.
I'm so glad you pulled me up on these stories. They were the most important stories. Jesus
I'm glad I noticed. For once, I may be like years out of date on my news knowledge, but at least I can read. And so, more security stuff going on here. Mozilla have had some problems with security. And developer networks have had a data leak, apparently. The MDN, Mozilla Developer Network, database has been failing, apparently, resulting in accidental disclosure of MDN email addresses of about 76,000 users and encrypted passwords for about 4,000 users on a publicly accessible server. It says as soon as we learned of it, the database dump file was removed from the server immediately, and the process that generates the dump was disabled to prevent further disclosure. While we have not been able to detect malicious activity on that server, we cannot be sure that there wasn't any such access. Okay, fair enough. So they've had some serious security problems there due to a faulty script or a database error or something. It says encrypted passwords were salted hashes and by themselves cannot be used to authenticate with the MDN website today. Still, it is possible for some MDN users. It's possible that some MDN users. I said I could read, and I obviously can't. Some MDN users could have reused. I shouldn't have said that. Reused their original MDN passwords on other non-Mozilla websites. So basically, they're saying if you've used the same password on MDN as you've used on other things, probably a bad idea. It says we've sent notices to users who were affected. So I don't know. I don't know what else they can do. They say they fixed it.
No, I think they've done pretty much anything. They don't know if somebody got the email addresses, but yeah. Who knows? Yeah. The IAC is saying, what are we doing instead of USB? Are we using FireWire? I think that's even worse. There's no security on that. And if I remember correctly, FireWire works kind of like, what was the other connection? Was it a serial or whatever? It basically goes right into the CPU. Like USB is kind of like USB is like it's like virtualized. There's a controller between there, which is why it uses so much CPU. Whereas I think FireWire goes right to the chip. So if you own that, you can just like basically you own everything.
I like the point here. They're saying surely FireWire is a security by obscurity. Only one person ever uses it. You could be right.
He's a Mac user.
Yeah. I don't know. It's quite worrying. Meanwhile, on the Mozilla front, we've got some news. They had some problems with. We talked about it. High-profile problems with their CEO and them having to kind of get rid of the CEO and bringing back the original CEO and all this other stuff. But they finally announced.
What? He got outed. The guy who wrote JavaScript got outed for hating gays. Like everybody, you'd think people would hate him for writing JavaScript, which every developer now has to deal with. No,
Yeah.
it's about the gays. It's all about the gays.
Yeah. Well, you're probably right there, actually, because JavaScript is like the web language, isn't it? And it's not going anywhere. It's like C++ or C at this point. It's never going to go away. Anyway, so yeah, they've announced, Mozilla have announced that they've appointed a new CEO, or they've named him anyway, and he has the best name ever for a CEO of a technology company.
Before we talked about him when he was made interim CEO.
Well, yeah, fair enough, but
because we were very disappointed. He has a great name. He's called Chris Beard, but if you look at his picture, no fucking beard in sight.
Yeah, false advertising again.
It is. Yeah, this is horrible.
I was going to say we need that.
Now.
I was going to say we played that song, "The Year of the Beard," a few shows ago. This would be his theme tune, Chris Beard, "Year of the Beard." It could be like that. Could be the name of his biography or something. Year of the Beard.
Linux 3.16 says, "Grow a fucking beard."
To be fair though, Linus doesn't have a beard, does he? Linus Torvalds.
Linus doesn't need a beard. He programmed the kernel.
Right. Okay.
His beardedness.
Fair point. So yeah, he's going to be the new CEO.
Also, how do you know Linus doesn't have a beard in his pants?
I haven't checked his pants, to be fair. So, isn't that a merkin? That's more like a merkin. Or
it was in their song lyrics. It's like
beard is like a beard for you in your pants. Maybe. So anyway, he's going to be Chris Beard. No beard. We should call him Chris No Beard.
Yeah.
We could have Chris, like his middle name could be No, and then Chris No Beard.
Chris No Beard.
Chris No Beard is going to be
so good. Chris No Beard.
Yeah. Somebody I mentioned this last time, the ZZ Top, the fantastic ZZ Top fact that the drummer's called Frank Beard and he's the only one who hasn't got a beard. Yes, so thank you to Larry for that.
He must be Chris Beard's brother or something.
He may be. I don't know how many beards there are. Just have a look. Maybe there's a lot of beards. So he's going to be he was the part-time, interim CEO, and now he's going to be the full-time, bona fide CEO.
Boner, full-time boner.
Bona fide, yeah. So it says, okay. Before taking on this interim CEO role, Chris spent close to a year as executive in residence at a venture capital firm, Greylock Partners. That sounds a bit interesting. Gaining a deeper perspective on innovation entrepreneurship.
In his beard, in his hair either.
Well, he doesn't have any locks in his beard.
He's full of disappointment, this guy.
Yeah, and during his time at Greylock, he remained an advisor. Oh, okay, to Mozilla. Interesting. All right, and so let's move on because with all the delays and shit, I'm going to end up running out of recording time here. I've got like 30 minutes left, so let's it should be enough. But let's talk about some feedback, shall we? Yep. Okay then. So first one, very easy to get to actually. Torrin Doyle just said thanks for reading the previous email, so no problem. Thought I would,
This was the first email we read.
It's not. No, we read one from Torrin Doyle about 2 or 3 shows ago. 3, 5, 4. Yeah.
This was the first email this show. I was.
Oh fucking hell! Sorry, right. My brain's died. Someone's done like a USB DDoS attack on me. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So we have got an email from our accessibility correspondent, Jonathan Nadeau, who says, "I wanted to announce the release of Sonar 2014.1 on your podcast. Sonar has moved from being based off Ubuntu to now being based off Manjaro Linux, and this is the first release using Manjaro as its base. He says now Sonar will always have the latest and greatest in assistive technology for its users. Sonar uses GNOME as its default desktop and will be releasing a Mate or Mate version in a few weeks. We have been working very close with the Mate team, and they had done a lot to assure the accessibility of the Mate desktop. It says they should have a release in a few weeks. Here are some of the features of Sonar 2014.1. They've got GNOME 3. Yeah, they've got GNOME 3.12 or 3.12. Orca screen reader, which very popular. Orca's like the equivalent of Jaws. I think it's called Orca because orcas kill sharks. Yeah, it's Orca's screen reader for blind users. Screen magnification for low vision users. A font to use for people with dyslexia. I can't read that, ironically. I am actually dyslexic as well.
Maybe you need that font.
I probably do. Well, I am dyslexic. I've got the paperwork and everything.
You've got the paperwork.
I have, yeah, no, seriously.
Is it like misspelled all over the place?
No, because I didn't write it, so that's okay.
I shouldn't make fun of you, actually, but...
Yeah, actually, my spelling's not bad considering. But maybe I'll have a look. I don't understand how. I have heard of a font that's supposed to be easy to read, but I seem to remember someone gave me a copy of this article where they had the font in it and other stuff, and they said to me, "Oh, read that and see if you think it's any different." And it was absolutely no different to me. I could, it wasn't any easier or harder. It says on-screen keyboards for people with low motor skills, eye/head tracking software to move the cursor on the screen with a webcam. Yeah, so it says this is the best release of Sonar yet. You can find it at sonargnulinux.com. So Sonar GNU Linux, all one word, .com.
I'm disappointed. If I go to the website, it needs to do like a bling. Like it needs to play that bling, that submarine sonar sound.
Yeah, that's true. The Sonar thing. Actually, something Mitzi's just mentioned in the IRC there. It says Orca was the name of the boat in Jaws, which I'd forgotten about. Yeah, and I think maybe
a bigger boat.
We're gonna need a bigger boat. Yeah. All right, and so thank you to Jonathan for that. We'll have to talk to him about that in future, how he's getting on with Sonar Linux and all the other great things he's been working on. The accessibility, accessible computing foundation, and all that stuff. The next one's a bit kind of political.
Milan Antonjevich. Who just laughed again.
Probably.
Hi Dan and Fab, it's been a while since I wrote in and laughed my head off in a crowded train when you tried to pronounce my last name. Probably did it again. Many thanks for the quality information and entertainment you provide.
Don't know about the quality information.
Yeah. I just want to... What? Iron Dome? What's that again?
Exactly, yeah.
I just want to quickly go through some logic reasoning with Fab. Oh, hello. Regarding the Malaysian MH17 plane incident, just a quick... I think based on his last name, he probably doesn't like Russians much. Just guessing.
Possibly.
Prejudice here. Anyway, he basically says punct 0, so... he starts numbering things with 0, yeah. He must be a programmer. I'm apolitical, but this is just an exercise in thinking. It's a very bad PR move for Putin for that plane to be shot, which I said too. I think
you said that.
It's also very bad PR for drunk. He says in colons drunken pro-Russian separatists. Yeah, which I said as well. I think they're probably drunk and stupid as well. It would only be good PR for the enemies. It doesn't have to be Ukrainians to try to show them as civilian-killing bastards or whatnot. Yeah, which is what I said. I'm saying it's for the US because they need to sell weapons to Ukraine. Anyway, he says Russians did it anyway because they are drunken and just that stupid. Okay, that's the claim of shooting down an AN-26, but that could also be an interesting coincidence PR-wise. I know I'm sounding like my tooth is spying on me now. I'm the only one who finds this logic a bit off. I don't know. I think I'm a bit more off the wall than you because my theory is that the Americans did it. It could, of course, have been the Russians, although I do not think Putin is stupid.
No, he's a lot of things. He's definitely not stupid.
He's a fucking bastard. Yeah. But so is Obama. He just has better PR. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it could be. It could also be that just like the Russians gave the separatists the weapons because somebody didn't think it through. And then the separatists were just that stupid, which I'm fair to
It's very.
But there's a lot of shit going on about this. Like, I read an article on, like, fucking BuzzFeed or whatever, and they were like, oh, there's this Instagram account of a Russian soldier, and this proves that while the plane was shut down, he was, like, in Ukraine, in this thing that looks like a back missile launcher. And like in the story at the end, they kind of say, well, there's no actual evidence to connect it to the shooting down of the plane. Well, thanks for that, fucking BuzzFeed. And then there's
I don't like BuzzFeed. I really don't. I mean, I know. I mean, I know. I think everything is a blog, and we talked about that last week. But they really talk some shit on there. How they've become like respected in any way is just beyond me. I don't really get it. They give
blogs a bad name. Like the only way to deal
give blogs
a bad name.
Sorry.
Yeah. The only way to deal with that kind of journalism is to nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
The only way to be sure.
Yeah. So they had this amazing line where they're like, well, this Instagram's geolocation is like really reliable, and this kind of shows that blah. And it's like, first of all, Instagram doesn't have geolocation. Your phone has fucking geolocation and just gives that data to Instagram. A, your phone can lie. B, you can lie to your phone, like with developer tools. C, have you ever played fucking Ingress? You think geolocation over phone, like literally. So this guy was like stationed in a barracks like close to the Ukrainian border. It was like 20 kilometers. People on Twitter were like, well, this is way too far for a GPS glitch. And I shit you not, when I was playing Ingress, and I didn't have the Nexus 5, so it must have been the Galaxy Nexus, there was a point when I was at Oxford Circus in London playing Ingress, and my phone, I shit you not, for over a minute thought it was in Hull.
And
it
hell.
It was so funny that I actually tried to hack a portal there, and I nearly hacked the portal. That would have been so funny. And then, like, the phone, of course, figured out that was actually in London. But it's like, because geolocation is so fucking reliable.
Yeah, and just in case anyone doesn't know their UK geography, which I wouldn't blame you for, you're talking about well over 200 miles, maybe 250 miles there. Distance. That's pretty bad.
I saw screenshots from like people where they were in the UK and their phone thought they were like in France. Basically, sometimes they get confused. It also could be fake. Just a thought. I'm with Fantogorth. He says the Illuminati did it, which is of course
possibly. Don't say it anymore because we've already had enough problems with.
What's probably Iron Dome malfunctioning?
Oh, don't say that again. I'm just like I'm waiting for the hangout to go off. We're so close to finishing. Let's just finish.
It was the Israelis.
Oh God. All right, and so thanks to Milan for that one. We had another email from Dale Visser as well. So if you want to email us, you can send your emails to linuxoutlaws@sixgun.
That was Milan Antoniovic.
It's linuxoutlaws@sixgun.org is the address. A couple of things from the saloon, which I was looking at. Last time we talked about our German, motorbiking journalist, stroke detective, stroke whatever idea. We could do with a few more people to put some input on that. Actually, I mean, I chatted to some people in the thread there, and it's still going on. But if you want to contribute anything. I said, and I don't know why I didn't think of this on the show, I was talking about how we had to have some kind of pun or something as the title. And being a journalist, obviously deadlines is a common thing.
Oh, so brilliant!
Yeah, so it's got to be something to do with deadlines, I think.
Brilliant.
I had, it's in the thread there. I posted it earlier in the thread. 6 days ago, it said, in fact.
Yeah, sorry, I've been slacking in the
No, that's okay. So I thought maybe, I don't know, missing deadlines or chasing deadlines. It's something to do with deadlines anyway. Makes sense for somebody like a journalist who solves crimes.
And that's, of course, the upcoming crime novel from Bionic Raven at bionikraven.com.
You're the new George R.R. Martin or whatever. All right, and so that was quite interesting. So there'll be a link in the show notes if you want to jump into that thread.
I'm going to change my name to George R.R. Sherrill.
Yeah, that could work. On another note, I picked up a post from Johan V, who says, some years ago I bought a Linux Outlaws t-shirt, which looked and still looks something like this, and he's posted a picture of the t-shirt. Now my wife thinks it is too old, and she wants me to dump it and buy a new one. The problem is, of course, that there is currently no Linux Outlaws t-shirts that I am aware of.
So right.
So, are there any plans for new t-shirts? He
Yes.
says.
Yes, there are plans. I have designs in my head.
Okay.
I need to get this done. I know I've been saying this for possibly 5 years. I know we had some at some point, and then I tried to sell them, and then they had a color misfunction. Some people brought them, they came out wrong color, and I want to fix that,
dear.
and then I got around to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to find a way to design them while I'm on the motorbike going back from Hanover to Hamburg.
Tablet, graphics
Yeah, I'm
tablet
looking
on
at
the.
ways of installing a Wacom tablet.
Mhm.
I'm actually my ThinkPad would probably work. I don't know if you had this ad in the UK, but for a while, I think it was in the UK as well. Lenovo was they had like posters, and they were advertising like the ruggedness of ThinkPads,
Yeah.
and it was basically a photo of a enduro bike going through like the desert in Africa somewhere, and
Wow.
basically having a ThinkPad strapped to the handlebar with like navigation shit on it.
Mm.
So I just need to find out what holder they use to get it on the bike.
Okay. Well, so the short answer is yes. We will try and sort that out in due course.
By you mean me?
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah. That's why I'm just saying the royal we. So NY Bill in that same thread posted a picture of us from the first ever Odd Camp with him and Matt Copperway and Windigo.
I didn't see this either.
Yeah, Red Brain is on there as well, and Davey Speaker.
I look locks basically, I think, right?
You do, yeah. But I don't know what I'm looking at, but I look like I'm about to beat the shit out of somebody who's just off the camera. I look really pissed off, and I don't know why.
Picture.
I don't know what I was looking at or why I was so pissed off. But
my God, my hair is like different.
Yeah. Mine, I've actually got more hair on that, which wouldn't be that odd. Since like 5 years old.
Sideshow Bob face.
Yeah, so we'll try and do our best with the.
You almost have more hair than Matt.
Me?
Matt had a really weird haircut on that.
Yeah, a little bit. So nice picture though, good pictures. Thanks to Bill for that. Don't forget if you want to join the conversations and so on, you want to give us ideas.
God, those curtains were horrible.
They were pretty bad, yeah. In the hotel. In the in the Connaught, I think it was, in Wolverhampton. It wasn't a high-end hotel though, let's be honest. So if you want to get involved in the saloon, you want to join the forum and talk with other users, other listeners and stuff, you can do. You need to go to saloon.sixgun.org. That's saloon.sixgun.org. And with that, I think we should get out of here before anything else breaks.
Long enough.
Been like 2 hours, over 2 hours now. Although there was a lot of fucking around and mistakes and stuff. My mic suddenly seems to sound better again to me. I don't know whether something's.
It does.
Yeah, what the fuck? Anyway, it's no.
Israelis are messing with us. I'm telling you.
It could be, yeah. Somebody commented the fact that when the ice cream van went past is when my mic started fucking up, so it is a bit suspicious, yeah.
It's their equipment.
They hit me with the highly focused microwave blaster or something. Maybe that's why I'm so hot. Maybe they've cooked me or something. They've cooked my kidney.
Cool. Quick, check your balls if this is still the right size.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to finish with a suitably, I don't know, rebel song, I suppose. Considering with all the stuff we've talked about tonight. But I'm going to play this song, which is by Cletus Got Shot, who are a great band, who actually are on a hiatus at the moment. They haven't done anything in a couple of years. I hope they come back because they're really, really good. They do like bluegrass stuff. This is from an album called Working Songs for the Drinking Class, which I think is a fantastic name for an album. It's called Congressman, and it's really good. And on that note, I think we'll play the song. And if there's anything else we want to mention, we mentioned Iron Thingy a few more times. Iron Dome, no. NSA, Edward Snowden. What else can we say to get cut off? I don't know.
Putin!
Jimmy Savile, no.
Oh God!
I don't know what else.
That will have done it.
Yeah. All right. And so, see you next time. Hopefully.
I'll get on my motorbike. I'm harder to track that way.
Yeah. And you've got your ham radio and stuff as well.
Actually, just reminded me. Somebody asked. I was talking what it sounds like. I'll try to take my Zoom tomorrow and record some engine sounds.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
So, anyway, let's get out of here.
Yeah, all right. And so this is Cletus Got Shot with a track called Congressman, and it goes a bit like this.
The mailman came by with a look in his eyes, nothing but bills for you. So I mailed out a note, and that's what I wrote. A note, Chuck, from me to you. Congressman, won't you be a man and fight for the working man too? Just say no, don't just sell your soul. Stand up, fight like a man. I got a letter, you see, straight from D.C. with a coupon for a washing machine. Well, they told me to buy with all of my might. Well, this country is counting on me. Congressman, won't you be a man? Fight for the working man too. Just say no, don't just sell your soul. Stand up and fight like a man. So I went out and bought the machine that I thought was the best that money could buy. But lo and behold, well, I was told that the CEO of General Electric was none other than your congressman and mine, that dirty, rotten guy. Congressman, won't you be a man? Fight for the working man too. Just say no, don't just sell your soul. Stand up and fight like a man. Congressman, won't you be a man? Fight for the working man too. Just say no, don't just sell your soul. Stand up and fight like a man. Stand up and fight like a man. Fight for the working man too.
Yeah,
It's an amazing song.
it's good, isn't it? It's so true as well. Yeah, the CEO is no one other than your congressman and mine. I do love that.
It's really good.
Yeah. So that was Cletus Got Shot. You can find them all over the place. Obviously, there'll be a link in the show notes as well. Go and get some of their albums off Bandcamp and other places because they're really cool. And Creative Commons as well.
Definitely. Really cool.
And now my mic's gone funny again. What the fuck is going on with this? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the mixer. Anyway, I'm going to have to do some serious fault finding on this.
Yeah.
The studio. I'm going to have to rip it apart.
Everything went wrong tonight anyway.
Yeah, it does seem like it, yeah. Anyway, so thank you to everyone for persevering.
Yeah.
And sticking with us, yeah, that was really cool. I've got 17 minutes left on my recorder of my 2.5 hours.
Stop mine now.
Yep, I'm going to stop mine as well. 2 hours, 11 minutes.
And I'll stop the recording.
Mm.
Bye.